Today, we are diving into a piece of tech that tackles one of the biggest, and let's be honest, one of the most frustrating flaws in the AI assistants we use every single day: their absolutely terrible memory. It's called MemGPT, and it's a brilliant idea that could, quite literally, change everything. So have you ever been in one of those really long, in-depth conversations with a chatbot, and you suddenly realize you have to repeat yourself over and over again? You tell it your favorite book, and maybe 10 messages later, it has no clue what you're talking about. It's like talking to a goldfish, right? You can have this amazing, detailed chat, and you feel like the AI really gets you. But then you come back the next day, or maybe just a few hours later, and poof, it's a complete blank slate. That entire history, all the context you built up together, is just gone. It's a massive limitation. So why does this happen? Is it just some kind of bug they haven't fixed yet? Well, no, not at all. It's actually a core architectural problem baked right into today's large language models. You see, every LLM has something called a context window. The easiest way to think about it is as the AI's short-term memory. It's this fixed-size buffer that holds the most recent parts of your conversation. But here's the kicker. Once that buffer is full, the oldest information gets shoved out and is completely forgotten. I don't mean archived or stored away, I mean it is gone forever. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, the solution is easy. Just make those context windows bigger. And yeah, they have been getting a lot bigger. I mean, GPT-4 Turbo has a massive 128,000 token window, but even that has a hard limit. Plus, there's this major technical problem. The cost and the time it takes to process all that context, it grows exponentially. That means doubling the window size doesn't just double the cost, it squares it, which makes infinitely large windows completely impractical. So if we can't just build a bigger brain, what's the solution? Well, what's so cool about this is that the answer comes from an idea that's been fundamental to how computers work for over 50 years. Just think about your own computer for a second. It basically has two different kinds of memory, right? You've got your RAM, your physical memory, which is super, super fast, but it's also limited and pretty expensive. That's where all your active programs are running. And then you've got your hard drive or your disk storage. It's much slower, sure, but it's also gigantic and cheap. It's where all your files live permanently. Now, here's the magic trick. Your computer's operating system brilliantly manages these two things to create what we call virtual memory. When your fast RAM starts to get full, the OS looks around and intelligently moves the stuff you're not using right now over to the hard drive. Then, when you need that data again, the OS just seamlessly pulls it right back into RAM. It creates this perfect illusion that you have nearly infinite memory to work with. And that right there, that is the core idea behind MemGPT. Researchers at UC Berkeley basically said, hey, what if we designed an operating system for an LLM that uses this exact same principle? So what MemGPT does is it gives the LLM itself the power to manage its own memory. It learns to treat its limited context window like precious high-speed RAM, and then it uses external storage, like a simple database, as its massive long-term hard drive. The AI can now decide for itself what's important enough to keep in its short-term memory and what it should page out to its long-term storage. Okay, so that's the theory, but let's see how it actually plays out in a real conversation. The research paper gives this fantastic, story-driven example that really makes it all click. All right, let's set the scene. It's February 7th. A user is chatting with the AI and happens to mention that her boyfriend, James, just baked her birthday cake. Now, a standard AI would just see this as another piece of text, but MemGPT identifies this as a core memory, a really important fact, and it makes a special note of it. So as the chat goes on, more and more messages get exchanged, and that limited short-term memory, that context window, it inevitably starts to fill up. And then the magic happens. MemGPT's own internal OS sends up an alert. Memory pressure. It knows it's about to run out of RAM and it's in danger of forgetting something important, like that key fact about James. So what does it do? Before that critical piece of information just gets pushed out into the void, MemGPT makes its own decision. It takes that core fact, user has a boyfriend named James, birthday is Feb 7th, and it writes it to its long-term hard drive memory, keeping it safe. Okay, now let's fast forward a week. It's Valentine's Day. The user sadly mentions that she and James broke up. A regular chatbot, which would have long forgotten that original conversation, might make a really awkward mistake later on. But MemGPT, it doesn't just hear this new fact. It does something truly intelligent. It actively recalls the old memory from its hard drive, finds the entry for boyfriend named James, and it updates it to ex-boyfriend named James. This is a real, evolving memory in action. That story is just incredible, right? But does the system actually hold up when you test it rigorously? Well, let's take a look at the data. The researchers designed a special task to specifically test this kind of long-term memory. They'd ask the AI a specific question about something that was mentioned way earlier in a long conversation. And the results are just stunning. A standard GPT-4, all on its own, only got the answer right about 32% of the time. But that very same GPT-4, when it was powered by MemGPT, a jaw-dropping 92.5% accuracy. Think about that for a second. 92.5%. That isn't just a small improvement. That is a complete game changer. It's the difference between an AI that's functionally forgetful and one that can actually build a real, consistent, long-term understanding of who you are. And this isn't just some clever technical fix. It's an unlock for the real future of AI. It opens up a whole new world of things that just weren't possible before. I mean, we're talking about AI companions that can genuinely grow and evolve right alongside you over months or even years. Personal assistants that remember every single one of your preferences without you ever having to say it twice. Imagine an AI that could analyze a 1,000-page legal document or an entire company's financial history and not lose a single, tiny detail. This is what a perfect memory makes possible. As the researchers from Berkeley put it so well in their paper, this isn't about trying to break the rules of how LLMs work, but about working brilliantly within them. They say, MemGPT represents a promising new direction for maximizing the capabilities of LLMs within their fundamental limits. By borrowing this classic idea from computer science, MemGPT gives AI the one thing it's always been missing, a past. It transforms it from a tool with amnesia into a partner that can learn, remember, and grow. So, I'll leave you with this thought. What would you build with an AI that has a perfect memory?